Hi, my name's James Shaver. I'm the owner at Swim, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about one of the more recent challenges due to the chip shortages that have been going around. If you haven't watched our other video that's been put out recently with Mike Larson, I'd recommend watching that to get a little bit more details on that. But I wanted to cover the topic of logistics and effectively how to take a product to market with the challenges of the chip shortage. So, most people that have done various different points of product development know that the typical flow is you start with a proof of concept, then you move over to a minimum viable product, then you go through testing, and then you start scaling up for manufacturing. Typically, how the chip shortage ends up going with that is effectively you start and you order a small batch of parts, usually around like 5 or so. Use that to flush out hey, is the design viable? Are these the correct parts? That sort of thing. And once you get through that, you've got your proof of concept. Then you want to start showing that to various other people. Usually you order on the magnitude of like 10 to 15 additional parts at that point in time, and it's been roughly a month or so from your prior order. From there, you go out, you make a PCB, you actually assemble things, you move through that process, and now you've got something that you want to showcase to people, and they start to get kind of excited about it. After that, you want to make sure that the product you've put together is pretty reliable. You want to go through certifications, all of that. This one's got a little bit bigger of a part hit to it, where we recommend at minimum roughly 100 units that need to get made. So we did 5, then 10 to 15, and now we're talking about roughly 100. Usually you click buy at that point, you do your first small run, get your manufacturing samples, get a feel for all of that, and then after that you're finally up into the races of making usually on the order of magnitude of several thousand units. And those are the ones that you want to actually bring to market, and then you're finally getting your return on your investment for that entire R&D pipeline. So with the chip shortage the way that it is, those parts can get swept out from under you at any given moment. So you start out, and if you're in the proof of concept, you find the parts you like, you move along, you get to the MVP, you move along, you get to the test level, and then you try to click buy at manufacturing. And guess what? Out of stock. So once you hit that point, you either have the choice with some of our actual needed chips. We're looking at roughly 53-week lead times, so you've got the choice of just waiting an entire year. And if you do that, cool. No additional R&D potentially needed, but other things might be out of stock at that point if you don't click buy and you wait through the process. And for most people out there, myself included, I don't want to wait a year. So what do you do instead? You go all the way back to the initial proof of concept phase, you redo your engineering process, and you get all the way back to the point where you're clicking buy on the manufacturing again, and guess what? You're out of stock again. So this is where Swim's come up with the concept of limited runs, where at the very beginning, we're changing the flow where you don't wait until everything at an R&D level's been vetted. You do your proof of concept at the beginning, and the moment that you've actually gotten that figured out, you click buy on the entire quantity of parts for your minimum viable product, as well as your testing, as well as your actual product line that you'll get your return on. You have to do that at that point in time. That's a little bit different from what things have been done, and then once those parts are gone, they're gone and you're on to your next R&D process. That's why we call it a limited run. So in order to make that happen, you really need to have a high level of trust in your engineers. You also have to have a high level of commitment from investors or whoever's coming in, because most people don't want to click buy on that several thousands level of parts up until they've got that sweet thing in their hands. Well, unfortunately, because of the chip shortage and how bad our supply chain is right now, that's not really an option. So because of that, the typical people that are going out there and they're hiring freelancers and they want to work through those various different phases themselves, they're going to get stuck in that really crappy loop that I was talking about, where they go through the entire R&D process, they're ready to click buy, and nothing's in stock anymore. So my recommendation for people out there is to reach out to an engineering firm that you trust. Hopefully you trust Swim, shameless plug. And effectively, you work with them at the beginning, you get your feature set locked in, you figure out your MVP feature set and all of that at the very beginning, and then you buy the key components that you need along the entire pipeline right at the very beginning. For a lot of the stuff that we work off of, it's the NRF52 pipeline. Usually the 840 is what we go for, and that's one of the ones that has that 53-week lead time. We've been buying that up front in order to help enable our clients, but realistically every project's different. You're going to need different sensors, different microcontrollers, any of those things that are key and non-changeable components. Those need to get purchased up front, and then you get that as your parts budget, just the same as a fiscal budget, and you end up slowly working through that at the R&D level. You allocate various amounts of parts for each of those phases, and then happy day, you're actually able to get that big return on your investment that everybody's looking for. So with that, I'd recommend reaching out to a firm like SWIM, and that way you'll actually be able to get your product to market.